How's it going? Ben, hey
Hi.
Natasha, how are you?
We're great. How are
Good. How are
you?
you?
I'm speaking.
I'm doing very
I'm
well.
great.
Yeah, I so enjoyed your performances in this film and reading up on a lot of what you've been talking about, what you've been doing. Natasha, you talk a lot about how you're so into the idea of spaces, buildings, how things are used. So a movie like this must be like right down your alley. How did you feel about sort of the space within it, shooting in Montreal?
They built the apartments completely. So the two apartments were really built to their full exterior and interior in the studio. So it was really cool as actors to be able to act from one side and be filmed from the other. I've never experienced that before. Yeah, it felt like we were in a theater production or something across the way. And we had a lot of freedom to improvise. Yeah.
Ben, I've been reading about how you'd given one interview in which you talked about going into the industry in part for the idea about adulation, about being watched, that was of interest to you, that you're being honest and said that's part of it. And this project, you have a project coming up, which is, like love at first sight. It must be something that is so recurring for you, this idea of looking or being looked at or sight, is this maybe by design, do you think, or it just happens to come together that way?
I love the narrative you've created. I think it's wonderful, but I don't think that's true. No, I think the adulation thing, that was me recognizing that, as a kid, as a teenager, it was definitely a large part of the reason I got into it was, to be loved and to be liked, but no, I don't think there's a common thread, to be honest with you. Maybe I'm not conscious of it. Maybe subconsciously there is something there, but no, I wouldn't agree with that personally. I like the work.
Yeah. Well, on that note, you both have really fascinating career paths in terms of sort of, perhaps coming to it a bit on the outside looking in, that you have maybe non-traditional paths to get where you are now. Did you ever feel like that? Did you ever sort of feel like you were looking in at a certain point? Do you feel like maybe you've made it now?
I still feel weird telling people I'm an actor because I never went to drama school or acting school. I was in law school and I quit very suddenly when I booked a role, and that's been it since. So I don't know if I've ever even properly digested that this is my life now, and has been for quite a while. So yeah, sometimes I still find myself in a very industry crowd and feel a little bit like a outsider for a moment, but not too much anymore.
The whole like made it thing, I don't know. I feel like I always feel like after every job I'm back on the job market,
Yeah.
and that each job could be the last.
True.
But also, like, I try not to stem my happiness on that either. I try and just, acting is, I love it to pieces, and it's a hobby, and it's a hobby that's become a career. But I'm also a person outside of that. That's I'm a person first. So try and focus on that and get my happiness from that rather than just from work.
You both give such fascinating performances. I really enjoy that idea of sort of being looked at. How do you feel? Do you watch your own work? Do you like to watch what you've done?
I think that depends on what it is. I still cringe watching myself a lot. I really do. It's just because you're too involved. It's so hard to be objective at that point and experience what the audience is experiencing. So yeah, I struggle with that.
Yeah, I do as well. I used to really hate it. I think I've got better at it over the years. Now I feel like I'm able to look at it more objectively and see things that I would previously look at and cringe and go, oh my God, that's awful. I can't believe I did that. And see it more as, okay, that was positive. That was negative. I didn't like the fact I did that. So I won't do that again. Look at it constructively and think, how can I improve as an actor from looking at it? But that being said, like, I had a link to watch this film for like probably a couple of months, and it took me to about 4 days ago to watch it because I was just the thought of going to
you
watch
watched it 4 days ago.
yeah so the thought
so
the thought of just actually watching it, it's definitely it's not like, oh, let's get the popcorn out, guys.
It's a mixed feelings.
Well, lastly, I am curious. I was going to ask you what you watched, but now I'm so curious to know, what was your reaction like for this film. You know, watching it for me, it's a really visceral experience. I was really engaged in what was going on. What is it like to watch this?
I watched it for the first time months ago with my friends in Sydney, back home in Australia.
You watched it with
And
friends for the first time?
yeah,
Wow.
it was
Yeah.
really, I had to, I was terrified. It was really fun because I got to see them screaming in their chairs. So I was like, oh shit. Because just when I would get a little self-conscious, they're in it. And I'm looking around and they're just engaged. So it was really cool to watch it with people who were just not involved at all.
Oh, that's cool. I would
Yeah.
have been too scared to do that. So yeah, that's cool. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
I feel
That's
less
right,
scared
yeah.
with my friends. When I'm alone, I'm like, oh God, my career is over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You'd be a wonderful sport of friends.
I do. I
Yeah,
do.
which is great.
Shout out, guys.
Well, I just
I
want to
just
say
find it
again,
weird watching a world that was like 2 years ago, pre-pandemic, you know.
I know.
It's one thing if it was
yeah.
2 years, it's another thing
Yeah.
pre-pandemic. It just feels like a different time, you know. So I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's who I was before all of this, you know.
Yeah.
But also I did find it really compelling, and I know all the twists and turns, obviously. So I was like, oh wait, what happens next? And I was like, you know what happens next, man. But yeah, so that's down to Michael's artful directing.
and it really deepens because of the pandemic as well too, watching it and looking back and to see the themes that have emerged for it. So really
Yeah.
eerie in that way.
It's true.
Really eerie. It was like so many of the scenes were impossible to shoot during COVID. So we got it in the can before that. Thankfully.
And I just want to say again, you've both really fascinated me with your performances, and I know you have many more to come. So I wish you the
Thank
best from here, and I'm really enjoying watching you both. So thank you.
Thank
so
you. Really
much.
appreciate that. Thank you.